You know, we hear that word visionary all the time, right? But what if it's not just some fancy label? What if it's actually a code? A code that, once we crack it, can change how we see absolutely everything. So let's dive in and start decoding.
Okay, picture this. It's the turn of the 20th century. All the smartest people, the top scientists, they're all saying the same thing. Powered human flight? No way. Not for decades, maybe even centuries. But in this little bicycle shop in Ohio, you've got two brothers, Orville and Wilbur Wright, and they're quietly, building a totally different reality. Everyone thought they were crazy, but they saw something nobody else could, a clear path right into the sky.
And that's the big question here, isn't it? I'll tell you what it's not. It's not magic. It's not just dumb luck. It's a very specific way of seeing, of thinking, and of acting. And that's exactly what we're going to do in this explainer. We're going to decode the entire blueprint of the visionary mind.
All right, so first things first, we've got to get our definition straight. What really separates a true visionary from, just a dreamer?
Okay, look closely here. There are two really important words on this slide: perceive and translate. This is it. This is the heart of the visionary code. See, it's not enough to just have some cool idea pop into your head. It's about being a seer, someone who actually perceives these future possibilities that are totally invisible to the rest of us. And here's the crucial part. They don't stop there. They translate that vision into something real, something that other people can finally see and get behind.
And this right here, this breaks it down perfectly. So on one side, you've got the dreamer. They're pretty passive. They imagine this amazing future, and for them, that's kind of the end of the road. The dream is the destination. But the visionary? Totally different story. For them, the vision isn't the destination at all. It's their North Star. It's the guide for every single decision, every action, every little step they take to build a bridge from that big idea all the way to reality. Okay, so we know what a visionary does. But who are they really? Well, it turns out that these breakthrough thinkers, they pretty much all share a common internal blueprint. So let's break that down. Let's look at the core anatomy.
So what's inside this blueprint? Well, you can think of it as three main pillars. First up is future focus. These people are always looking at the horizon. They're not just spotting trends, they're sensing the deeper cultural shifts, the zeitgeist, Second, they have this amazing creative-analytical mind, and this is so important. It's not just about wild, crazy imagination. It's imagination that's backed up by some serious strategic logic. And third, and this is a big one, they have unshakable character, because let's be real, trying to create a new future, it is never, ever easy.
And when we say character, we're not just throwing a word around. We're talking about the absolute foundation of their ability to lead and influence people. I mean, you could have the most brilliant vision in the world, but without trust, it's going to fall apart. Fast. That's why integrity is the biggest piece of the pie here. It's what builds that trust. Then you've got empathy, which lets them actually connect with people and understand what they really need. Optimism, well, that's the fuel that gets them through the tough times, and believe me, there are tough times. And resilience, that's what makes sure they get back up every single time they get knocked down.
All right, so we've covered who these people are. Now for the really cool part. How do they think? Because visionary thinking, it's not some magical gift that only a few chosen people get. It's actually a cognitive toolkit, a set of mental models that, believe it or not, anyone can learn to use.
And this idea is so incredibly empowering. The ability to see what other people miss isn't a gift. It comes from applying specific methods, specific ways of thinking to the world around you. It's all about training your brain to break free from those old conventional patterns.
And one of the most powerful tools in that toolkit is something called first principles thinking. You've probably heard of it. It's famously used by Elon Musk. So most of us reason by analogy. We say, well, we do this because that's how it's always been done. But a first principles thinker, they deconstruct everything. Think about it. When Musk wanted to build rockets, he didn't just accept the crazy high price of a finished rocket. He asked a different question. He asked, what are rockets fundamentally made of? By breaking it all down to its most basic, undeniable truths and then rebuilding from there, he found a completely new and way, way cheaper path forward. But it's not all about cold, hard logic. The visionary mind is really a powerful partnership, just like you see here. I mean, think about someone like Nikola Tesla. He talked about seeing his inventions fully formed in his mind's eye. That's the spark. That's intuition asking that powerful question, what if? But then he didn't just stop there. He spent years and years in the lab,
using rigorous logic to ask how, and to get the proof that his intuitive leaps were actually grounded in the real world. You see, you need both. One without the other is just incomplete.
Okay, so you've got the vision, you've got the mental toolkit, but how do you actually forge a path from that abstract idea to something that has a real impact on the world? This, right here, this journey is where most good ideas go to die. But for visionaries, this is where they thrive.
This quote from Thomas Edison, it just perfectly captures the visionary's unique relationship with failure. For most of us, failure feels like the end. It's a stop sign. It's a reason to give up. But for a visionary, it's something totally different. Here's the absolute key. They reframe the whole concept of failure. It's not an endpoint. It is a data point. That's it. Every single attempt that doesn't work out is just a valuable experiment that gives them more information for the next try. It's actually an active strategy they use to navigate the unknown. It's part of the process.
And a huge part of that process is running their ideas through what you could call a validation gauntlet. And this is absolutely critical. Before they spend years and tons of money building a solution, they make sure to validate the problem first. Like, is this a real urgent pain point for people? They'll go out and do interviews, not to sell their idea, but just to listen, to deeply understand. And then they test for early signals, a little proof that people are interested. A perfect example is Dropbox. Before it was even a real product, the founders just released a simple little explainer video. The huge number of people that signed up, that was all the data they needed. That told them they were onto something real.
All right, so we've decoded the visionary. We've looked at their anatomy, their toolkit, their whole process. Now let's bring it all home. How can you start activating your own inner code right now?
It's not as hard as it sounds. Here are 3 really practical ways you can start. First, cultivate an insatiable curiosity. Seriously, read books and articles way outside your comfort zone. Watch documentaries on stuff you know nothing about. Visionaries are masters at connecting ideas that seem totally unrelated. Second, you gotta train your cognitive flexibility. Make it a habit. Practice breaking down a common problem using first principles. Try to map out all the hidden connections in a system. And third, consciously reframe how you see failure. I mean it. The next time a project tanks, don't just say, well, I failed. Ask yourself a different question. Okay, what data did this experiment just give me?
Because at the end of the day, being a visionary isn't really about predicting the future. It's about having the courage and the tools to build it. And it all starts with one simple shift in your mind, seeing the world not just for what it is, but for what it could be. So I'll leave you with this question. What future are you going to start building today?